Greetings, CBC, and welcome to this week's Sunday warm-up. We're just going to jump right in here. We're looking at Romans chapter 9, verses 6 to 13 this week. Romans 9, 6 to 13. That will be our kind of narrowed focus we're looking at, or the smaller, manageable portion of Romans 9 this week. All this month, we're going to be studying Romans 9. So go ahead and read back through Romans 9, 1 to 5 that we looked at this last week. But again, really focus in on verses 6 to 13. Now, there's a lot of Old Testament history here that's being covered in these verses. So if you can take some time and make some time this week, I would highly recommend rereading through Genesis 12 to 27, or maybe reading it for the first time. I don't know. But Genesis 12 to 27 will give you some more in-depth and some background information related to the promises made to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Or when we read here about Abraham, we read about Sarah, we read about Rebecca, Isaac, Jacob, Esau. It would be good to refresh ourselves on the specifics of those stories. So Genesis 12 to 27 will help bring all of that into a little bit better focus, so that we're not reading these names and going, I don't remember their story or what that's about. So Genesis 12 to 27, Romans 9, 6 to 13. We're looking at some things here that we want to wrestle with, and as you're taking notes, there's I think a really nice pattern that develops for us that it can be helpful. It was at least helpful for me to write this out on a sheet of paper, is almost like writing out your lineage of your family. So you're looking for things about the difference, what Paul's talking about here about the children of the flesh versus the children of the promise. That not all Israel is Israel. And so what is he talking about when he means the children of the flesh versus the children of the promise? What was the promise given? What was the purpose then behind the promise? Those are things that we want to be looking at as well. And then thinking about who are the children of the promise, as he talks about there in Romans 9, 6 to 13. Also, take a look at Galatians 3, 28 to 30, and Ephesians 2, 18 to 36. And then lastly, we'll be considering, as it's described there in the text in Romans 9, about God's purpose of election, referencing of the older will serve the younger. Jacob I've loved, Esau I hated. It can seem to be a tricky phrase for us, thinking about God saying, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. We'll want to consider have there been other places in Scripture where God's using, or Jesus in particular, using this word hate that is really being said in a different way than we use the word hate. For instance, when Jesus tells us, unless we hate mother, father, brother, sister, does he really mean that we're supposed to hate our mom, hate our father, hate our family? Take a look at Luke 14, 26. That'll be a helpful verse to come alongside when we read and think about Jacob I loved, Esau I hated, all under still that heading of God's sovereignty, God's providence, and in particular, as Romans 9 says, God's purpose of election. So quite a bit before us this week if we really want to prepare ahead of time. There's a lot in Romans 9 that we're going to be talking about. I guess, if you will, a lot of moving parts and pieces. So it would be very helpful to ahead of time prepare and be aware of some of these things. I say this quite a bit, but I would highly recommend, suggest this week, come ahead of time before you get the notes that I'll be giving you. Come ahead of time with your own notes, outline of the text. It should mirror what mine is, because I'm just outlining right through the text. But it would be really helpful to be able to see that for yourself, having seen that, so that as we walk through it together and then maybe make some observations related to it, we're saying, yep, I see that, okay, that makes sense. Rather than trying to just hear all of these names and all of this kind of background words, understanding thrown at us at once. At least don't ever walk away if we're not preparing ahead of time and find ourselves scratching our head saying, I didn't get anything out of it, therefore it's the fault of the speaker. At least be able to admit, I really didn't put anything into it or take the time that would probably be necessary to help me get something out of that. So that is the purpose of these videos, is to be able to help us as a church here prepare ourselves for Sunday morning so that we're warmed up, we're ready to go, rather than just sitting there cold and kind of evaluating and maybe thinking about other things. Really diving into this. There's some great, wonderful biblical truths here, some wonderful things for us to consider. Then when we're done Sunday going through the text, we'll offer some application thoughts as it relates to this portion in Romans 9. All right, that's it. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. Looking forward to being with you on Sunday. Really excited about this month, diving through slowly the teaching in Romans 9. God bless you.